The podcast is sponsored by StartupSummit.io, a two-day event bringing together 2,000 founders, investors, and industry leaders from across Europe. As a thank you for being part of the podcast community, we are now offering 50% off all tickets by using the code PODCAST in all capitals on the website. See you in Lisbon. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Innovation Conversation. Today we are joined by Tash Rebuck. Welcome to the podcast, Tash.
Thanks so much, Ricardo. I'm really excited to be here.
It's a pleasure having you here. Tash, I know you have an amazing story to tell the audience, so would you please like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. So if you can't tell, I am born and bred in London, and I always grew up being absolutely desperate to be an actor, and eventually realised that I would like to move out of my parents' home. So I took up a very adaptable and similar career, which is sales. So I'll divulge more into my story, but in the shorthand, I'm now a sales consultant. I do coaching, advice, and training, and that's what I do. I love helping people fall in love with sales.
Interesting. Sales, obviously my background is also in sales, so we both know sales is actually quite scary most of the time. And I think for a lot of the audience listening to this, and first-time entrepreneurs just starting the business, to actually go out and talk about their business and what they're building, it's really, really scary because you don't want to hear no's. So how did you, I guess, took the knowledge and the expertise you had as an actor from you hear no's literally all the time, right, into sales? How was that process like? Tell us a little bit more about that story.
It's a really interesting one. I think that there are so many reasons why actors become salespeople. I think the first one is absolutely we're so used to rejection. I used to put in my CV when I was going for sales jobs, used to be a stand-up comedian, can take rejection very well. And it's so true because when you're in acting, every single no you get, you have to see it as the stepping stone to the next yes, or sometimes your first yes. And sales is exactly the same. Ultimately, it's a numbers game. The more people you reach out to, the more you speak about what you do, you get past all the no's that will then open the door to that one big, or hopefully many big yeses. But also, I think the biggest thing is being a chameleon. You know, I was very traditionally trained in acting. I did theatre. And the reality is you can walk on stage, a prop can fall over, someone can forget their line, and you have to come up with something completely new. And that is exactly what sales is. You know, you have to adapt to who you're speaking to. You have to sometimes be a different kind of person, you know. We're not all what everyone is looking for. You have to be able to adapt and come up with different ideas. And that has been really, really helpful from my acting background.
I can imagine. I was watching a movie the other day, and they kind of showcase the basics of improv comedy, which is that you never say no, you just say yes and. So if there's two people on stage, one says, I am a doctor, the other says, yes, and I am a pharmacist. If they say, no, you're not a doctor, then there's no way to go. And I think if you take that to sales, you can actually use that. Oh, I already bought a software. Yes, however, or yes, and I can, improve the way you're using software or something like that, right? So it just works.
Exactly. I think it all comes down to like positivity as well. Just bringing a nice, happy spin to things. Oh, you're already doing that. Amazing. That means you already know how valuable it is. That's great news. It's just, keeping your head up, keeping positive, even when you might be facing a lot of rejection.
Now, I know there is a little bit of a very interesting story, because there was a time in your life you were, I think it was probably your first sales job. Would you like to tell that story? Because I absolutely love the story. Obviously, the audience doesn't know that we met before, but I really want to hear that story again.
Absolutely. I'll pretend like you've never heard it. So when I did eventually decide I'd like to not live with my parents forever, I looked up different roles. And it was amazing because the company that I found, like the recruitment company, they were desperate for me to get into recruitment because that was really the big sales job that everyone was doing. Startups had just been building in excitement, and so everyone was hiring. And I interviewed at 13 of the top London recruitment companies. Every single one rejected me. And I got to the last stage of every single one, and they sat me down and they'd asked me the same question. And I'm a total fool because I gave the same answer and I knew what was going to happen. But they asked me, would you screw over the person you were sat next to if you knew you could place someone in a role that they were going for. Every single time I went, no, I wouldn't. That's not how I'd work. I'd talk to them. I'd let them know I think I had a really good candidate and say, hey, look, if I hand it to you, why don't we do a commission split or something along those lines? Apparently, I'm too nice for recruitment. So what does a nice, nerdy salesperson do? They go and get hired by one of the biggest board game companies in the world. So I amazingly ended up in an interview to work for Monopoly. And what we did there was make bespoke editions of board games. And it was such an incredible experience because we were almost seen as this team that we were in. We were like the specialist sales agents, because we made limited edition versions of games. So you might go to a football club who's just won the league and get them to make, 5,000 editions of their championship Monopoly round. Or you might go to a comic book and say, why not make for your 10th anniversary a pack of Top Trumps where you've got all the characters? And that was really, really interesting because you got to work with massive enterprise companies building things that were really fun and different. My cupboard is just full of Monopoly boards. And also making like city editions. So getting to travel around the UK and make sort of their own versions of Monopoly boards. And I won't give away too many secrets, but almost everyone pays to be on a Monopoly board. It's not quite as, tourist driven as one might hope. There's a lot of commercial. What a surprise. Monopoly is quite a commercial but it was an amazing job. It was so much fun. And like I said, I'm a big nerd. So it was a great opportunity to marry two things that I really love together. Are you a big board game person?
You're literally talking about my favorite game. I love Monopoly. So obviously, we're part of the older generation. So we grew up without internet, right? They wanted to watch a movie. It was the same old VHS tape over and over again. So my summers were spent literally watching Star Wars, The Sound of Music, and Indiana Jones, because those were the only cassettes we had in the house, kind of. And then Monopoly was introduced. So I spent summers playing Monopoly with my sister, getting into huge fights with her, and that was it. And then over Christmas, big classic, let's bring out the Monopoly game. So yeah, absolutely love Monopoly.
Exactly. Well, do you and your family still play Monopoly?
Well, this is actually, you kind of hit like a really sad story there. My sister once loaned my Monopoly game to one of her random friends, and it's been lost ever since. And every year, I kind of gently nudge her. Maybe she's watching this. She'll be like, I probably should buy him a Monopoly game. Hey, Monopoly, I really like the game. Hey, sis, I really like the game. She never bought me one again. So yeah, it's missing.
Do you know what, Ricardo? Seeing as you've invited me on this podcast, maybe if you send me your address, I will ship you a cool version. I'm thinking Star Wars edition of Monopoly, because it was our office that made that. So definitely can send that to you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you do get the board, and this is a trade secret, yellow and red, if you buy them, statistically, you are more likely to win. They are the most landed on properties.
You see, I agree. However, the cheapest.
You can't disagree with me. This is statistics.
Statistics, yes, I see your point. However, because it's a square, right? The easiest ones to get, which are the cheapest ones, are the orange and the one straight after go, when you pass go. And if you buy those two, people always, they're never afraid of landing on those two, right? But they actually increases your cash flow very early on, because it's the cheapest one to get a hotel. So like, I'll buy a couple of hotels. You just got some money because you just passed to go. And then you start paying, for staying in those hotels. So you actually build your cash flow very quickly if you happen to get them. And normally people always go for like Park Lane and is it Hyde Park as well? What's the other one?
Yeah, Hyde Park Corner or something like that. Exactly. Yeah,
which are really expensive to build a hotel, but a small hotel, and you keep on falling there, still pays the bills, or still makes you win the game in this case.
See, this is the issue with two commercial experts sitting down and talking about Monopoly, because now we could get into a whole thing about but should you save up to make a bigger and better investment? But we won't get into all of that, at least not Monopoly related.
No, 100% not. So you started selling Monopoly, you were very, very successful. And then when did you realize, actually, I can make a career out of this? It can become my the way of making money, the way of being successful in life.
So I had a really interesting journey where I went from the really old traditional world of Monopoly and games, where we were basically sat at a big old desktop computer with a proper dial-up phone, and I had a Rolodex of business cards, like an actual flipping Rolodex of business cards. No CRM, no automation tools. And then I went from that to the startup world, and I joined what ended up becoming a unicorn. So when I started, there was 20 of us in the UK office. And by the time I left, there was over 900 people globally. So it was just, in 4 years, massive growth. And so I got to see how a startup can grow, and then was able to sort of do that myself for a few years in head of sales and head of commercial roles. But the light bulb moment for me to start my own business and to actually just work one-on-one with founders and business owners was the last role I had. I was head of commercial for a charity and volunteering platform. We were a B Corp, and I was just doing real positive good for the world, but still B2B sales. So it was two things I absolutely loved. And I had this, it's kind of the dream for any head of sales is I had this wonderful team. They were growing really quickly, closing loads of deals. And the CTO said to me, the last enterprise client you've signed has taken us over our capacity. Could you personally stop doing sales for a little bit? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can stop doing sales. And then that lasted about a day. And I was like, I really miss sales. So I went onto the platform and I looked up to see if there was any volunteering projects that were around sales consulting. And there was one. There was a domestic abuse organization that basically was at the point where they thought, if we don't have something happen in the next 3 months, we'll have to shut down shop, which for the amazing good that they were doing was a devastating possibility. And in the 3 hours, because that was what was offered to them, the difference that happened in their business was more than anything I've ever been able to achieve internally. And that was really the light bulb, because I realized two things. One is you can be a founder of an incredible business. You can be an absolute genius, come up with the best idea in the world. But if you don't know how to sell it, you won't get fundraising, you won't get clients, you won't get partnerships, and you'll disappear. The second thing was that people listen to you when you're a consultant. They don't really listen to you when they hire you as an employee. So
that is very true, actually. Yeah.
I'm sure there's so many psychological reasons behind it, but I don't know them. I'm just a salesperson. But I do think it's something about, okay, this is also a business owner. They're going through it too. They understand. And so you meet them at the same level rather than there being an imbalance of power.
Yeah. It's the authority thing that makes a big difference. One assumes that they know more about it than you do, whereas in the other one, they actually assume that you know more about it than they do. That's why they're paying you good money for it, right?
Exactly. Even though that is how a founder should see their head of sales. If you hire a head of sales, that is the person you trust. Otherwise, why have you hired them? But reality and what we think it should be, sometimes different things.
I actually, the last job I had, this was only a very temporary thing. The CEO there, which was a very incapable founder, told me, you don't know how to do sales. And I'm looking in the eye, you can't be serious. Literally, my CV, I've done more stuff than you've done in your entire life. And you're telling me I don't know how to do sales. Okay, cool, fine, thank you, bye-bye. So yeah, it's just one of those things.
It is. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it was 2 years ago. And I haven't looked back. I haven't. I love it. I love the freedom of being able to work with whoever I want. I have a very nice rule: no assholes. It's a good rule to have. And I love the people I work with. I love the work that I'm doing. I have more flexibility and freedom that I ever had. Before we started recording, I can say this to the audience, Ricardo was like, oh my God, you're literally always on holiday, because I just came back from one. And the last time we spoke, I'd also been on one. And then I'm going on another in a couple of weeks. But I'm able to do it. I can hop online. I can work if I need to. But for the most part, as long as my clients are happy and their engine is running and they're getting deals, I can take a little break and sit by a pool and read a book for a week.
And I think this is actually quite a lot of there's quite a lot of value in this statement you just made, which is it's not only about how many hours you put in, it's also about the intensity of those hours and the value you get out of those hours. Because I know a lot of first time founders and they say, oh, I work from 8 till midnight and I do like crazy hours. And I'm like, well, hold on, how many of those hours are actually very productive? Because if the only thing you're doing is just like, I don't know, thick bulk exercises, it's not very productive. It's not the best use of your time, isn't it? So this way is actually very productive. And if you're able to do that, then you can grow your business. Then you can grow, expand, and be very, very successful.
Exactly. Thank you. I try. But yeah, no, I mean, like I say to my clients all the time, because often in between sessions, they'll go, I didn't manage to get to this. I didn't manage to get to that. And now I'm feeling stressed because, we don't have anything at the top of the pipeline. And it's at that point that I go, we have a new rule then. You are not allowed to do anything unless you are being paid to do it, or it's going to get you paid in the future. So don't make a workshop that you would give if you sold it. Sell it, then build it. That's the startup mentality. I mean, we all know that so many times an idea is pitched before it's built. And that's okay, because sometimes you need that revenue or that promise of revenue to give you the freedom to take a step back from business development and just refocus on what you're actually going to provide. But it's a hard place to be, because it's nice to procrastinate, because people hate sales. They see it as a dirty word. So if there's anything they can do, anything nice and shiny other than sales, that's what they're going to go and do.
I think it's the fear of rejection, isn't it?
100%.
They did a study about what's the biggest fear worldwide, and of course, it's like fear of heights, fear of getting killed in the plane, something like that. But the fear of rejection, being rejected by your peers, it's like the worst thing ever. That's why people are so afraid of public speaking. Now, for people like you and me, that's like, oh yeah, this is safe. I feel happy here. All the eyes are on me, so happy days, right? But for a lot of people, it's like the worst thing ever.
Absolutely. And I think one reason is that I like to say, when it comes to rejection, what you think it's going to be is so much worse than what it really is. Like, take sending a cold outreach message. You've seen someone on LinkedIn that's your ideal prospect, and you are terrified to send a message because you think they're going to reject you. I always say to people, okay, what we need to do is go, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And then what's the most realistic? Because worst case scenario is they turn around, they go, F off, why are you in my inbox, wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. I mean, someone did once, I just connected with them on LinkedIn, and they said, I don't connect with people that are beneath me. So,
Wow.
Worst case scenario, it was incredibly harsh. I was like, wow, mum, I was not expecting that.
What? Someone actually say that to you on LinkedIn? Wow, that is a bit wild. Okay.
But then best case scenario is they go, oh my God, amazing. Yeah, contract, deal. Yes, let's do it. What's the most realistic situation? What is 95% most likely to happen?
Nothing.
They're not going to respond.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to respond.
Yeah.
And then it's about, the no is a good thing. Back to the whole acting.
Because you can close that. You can close that window. Okay, now I can focus on something else. And then if they are very rude to you, it's not about who you are, it's about who they are. Because if you're able to treat people like that without any reason apart from, hey, can we connect on LinkedIn? It's like, well, hold on, there's a problem with you. Because
exactly.
I don't know about you, but I get like 20 connection requests of people trying to sell me something every day. I'm like, either reject, or if I do accept it, I say, thank you, that's not for me. Or then I don't say anything, it's fine, it's part of life.
Exactly.
I guess people are afraid of that. I think also entrepreneurs probably are afraid of having rejection, because that means that their idea is not solid. And then when you get that rejection, you assume it's feedback. Oh my God, the market's telling me something. No, that person is telling you something. 100 different people tell you completely different things. So just go and ask 100 people. Then you can have an opinion, but not before that.
Exactly. It's like people who'll drop their pricing because one person tells them they can't afford it. And you have to remind them, one or even a number of people's budgets doesn't define your value that you're giving. Like, just because I can't afford to fly in a private jet every single day or ever.
Yet.
No, I wouldn't, because of the environmental impact, Ricardo. I wouldn't do it.
You're a much better
But
person than I am. I'll just go private. I'll literally buy my own jet and go fly everywhere like an idiot. But yeah.
fair. Fair, because I have a friend who works at a private jet company, and I got to go with her on a free leg or an empty leg for no cost. I would also love to fly again, but I wouldn't want to pay for it. It's too expensive. Silly waste. I don't want it really. But just because I can't afford that yet doesn't mean it's not worth the value of what it is. I just can't afford it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also think when it comes to rejection, a lot of people are worried about their reputation. And they think if I get rejected, if I send too many messages, people will view me as less than, and it will damage my reputation.
It's a good,
But
actually, it's a good point there. That is a good point.
yeah.
Really, I don't think it will, because that just means you're doing business.
Well, okay, you just said you had maybe 20 people trying to sell something to you this morning. Tell me one of their names.
I don't remember them because they're not even relevant. And there's a really good
Exactly.
reason why. I tell you what, there's actually a really good reason why I haven't replied to most. I don't reply to people, and that is when they haven't done the research, and I can tell it's very low effort because we can automate, outreach on LinkedIn, and we can automate a lot of emails. If they haven't even bothered to type my name correctly or to fully understand the needs of my business, then why would I waste my time replying to them? Now, if they did take the time for it, for example, someone says, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. I really, really enjoyed this episode with John Smith," which, by the way, no John Smith has ever been on the podcast. Then I'm like, you know what? This person deserves a reply, and I'll reply to them.
I agree. Yeah. Personalization is so key. Now all of this automation is completely taking over, it's so obvious now. Even the slightly more advanced ones, you can still tell. I got a great one the other day. It said, "Dear Sir / Madam, Rebuck." And I was like,
it's really good.
Could be one or the other. You're right. You've got a 50% chance of getting that right. And you went 0.
Yeah. That is horrible. I once got a meeting I was selling film production services. So it was a film agency / production company. And obviously they live off getting really nice contracts to do films and do commercials. And we were trying to get Renault in France, right? Renault has had the same agency for decades. They don't reply to anyone else because they just go with that one. Guess who managed to get a really nice reply? And you know why? Because the email I sent them, or the message, I think it was on LinkedIn, was like, "Hey, I know you're doing this with them. My family has had 3 Renaults. It was actually the first car I was ever driven on. It was a Renault 5. Then my dad gave me a Clio to drive around, and it was amazing. I had like sex for the first time in a Clio, something like that. I don't think I had that many details, but I probably had too many details to the story. And I really like your car. It's amazing. I know you're launching the new model. I'm passionate about it. I'd love to show you what we can do." Of course we got a reply because they read the whole story. Like, I can connect with this person. They get us. Yeah. But
exactly.
I don't think AI can do that much. I don't think it adds that many stories and many details to it.
No, I mean, definitely not the losing your virginity in the car. That one definitely.
No, yeah, that's probably too much for me. I'll probably edit this up.
I don't think you should. But yeah, no, exactly. I have some of my clients, they come to me because it's not about numbers. They've got 10 people they need to get in front of. And it's do or die. If you don't get in front of those people, those are all your prospects. And when it comes to that, you've got to go the most personalized that you can possibly do. Send them something. Don't do it online anymore. And so we'll do things like send funny things in the mail. I don't know if you've ever seen, but you can send a coconut and you just write a note on it that says, "You'd be nuts not to have a meeting with me." It's so silly. But what a funny thing to do. I have one client, they're a branding and marketing agency. They're amazing. And what we did is create a board where you can put your head through the middle. And it was their faces either side. And it said, you look like our next favorite client. And it was just, we hand wrote notes saying, just let us know if you're interested. People sent photos of themselves. We're talking about the heads of massive companies putting their heads through this thing, sending a photo being like, "Yeah, go on, I'll have a chat with you."
But it works.
And
it works.
You've got to do it. Yeah, you've got to stand out. Otherwise, you're just like everyone else. And your business probably isn't just like everyone else. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly, especially when you're selling high ticket price items, like you actually want to get personalized. You want to get to know them because it's a big number. If it's a big number, you need take your time to actually look at
Exactly.
them, what they do, what they don't like, stuff like that. I used to work for one that was selling software, and we used to send coffee cups with instant coffee, and they'll get this really nice package with a mug and some instant coffee. What's this? And then I put like a little note saying "Time for coffee," and I'm like, oh
That's
wow.
good.
They always reply to you and say, "Thank you so much for the mug and the coffee," and they get the joke and like, yeah, you know what? Let's talk.
I think that's great. I might steal that, Ricardo.
It's a good one. Yeah. The
Yeah.
only problem with this was I hate coffee. So people when they say
Same.
yes, I'm like, oh no, I have to have coffee now.
Oh my god, I do the same thing. I say to people, let's go grab a coffee. And then they'll pick a coffee shop and I'm like, I only drink tea.
Yeah, I'm the same. Which yeah, it's a bit awkward sometimes. You don't drink coffee. No, but you come from Portugal. I know we drink espresso all the time. Yeah, but not me. So yeah, this makes for some. But then it's a good conversation starter, isn't it? Which then brings me
Exactly.
to my next topic of question, which is how can we use our weaknesses into our superpowers? Because I know you know how to do this, and it's something that says salespeople tend to be very good at doing it.
So I think that's really interesting because what I often find myself doing is I'll work with a lot of founders who sales is their biggest weakness. Like, you're not speaking to me if you're amazing at sales unless I'm doing training for your team and you recognize you need a great sales trainer. But for the founders who come to me because they literally find it terrifying, it's about reframing it and making them recognize that sales isn't one thing. It's not this one image of, slicked back hair, selling a car, snake oil style kind of salesperson, rubbing their hands together as you sign the contract. Though I'm sure we've all been that at some point in our careers. No?
I was just thinking, I don't think I have ever been in that situation. Like, I would only sell products I would believe in because if I believed in them, I could sell them passionately. If I didn't believe in them, if I thought I was selling snake oil, it just wouldn't work. And I got offers to sell, what's the Windows things, when you build those conservatories.
Like double paned glass.
Oh my God, they love me. Come and work for us. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't really believe in that. And their sales tactic were crazy. They literally told me, yeah, you can offer up to 70% discount. I'm like, on every sale? Yeah, on every sale. We make so much money out of this. It doesn't really matter. But see if you can offer
No.
them less. I'm like, oh wow. Really really bad
Yeah,
tactics.
I had that kind of situation. I was for 3 months at a neon light company. And apart from the fact that the culture was incredibly toxic, it became very apparent that it was not the kind of thing that I enjoyed selling. I'm not a B2C salesperson. I'm B2B. That's where my heart is, Not those big contracts, those big exciting contracts. Love a long sales cycle.
Yeah, and also when you sell it to consumers, it's always harder because if you're trying to scam them, I honestly think if you have an ounce of decency, you don't feel good about yourself doing that.
Not at all. Not at all. Exactly. And I think actually that is probably what most people feel really uncomfortable about because they think that if they have to sell, they have to be dishonest, even when they're talking about themselves and what they really do. And so I'll often have people they're very quiet, they're very softly spoken, they're not very sort of pushy or demanding. And they come to me and they go, how on earth can I be a salesperson? And I'm like, you can be the best salesperson because if you can shut up and just listen and every now and again ask a soft but deeply insightful question, you'll be one of the best consultative salespeople because you're actually taking it in, absorbing what they're saying to you, and then recommend based on what they have shared. And don't just waste their time talking their ear off about everything you do and how amazing you are. Just talk about that one thing that you feel really confident about and just speak truthfully about what you do. Because if you're good at what you do and you're not bullshitting, then it's not a lie. It's not a manipulation. It's the truth. And I think that's how you can turn those kind of weaknesses into strengths is just by reframing them and recognizing that not everything has to be done the way that you're shown on TV. It doesn't always have to be the American influence of sales.
Tell me to spend. Scenario, yeah, exactly.
I've done that a couple of times in job interviews.
I mean, it does work. I mean, it does show your ability to articulate around the problem and solving the issue, right? You mentioned you touched something that I learned a couple of years ago, which is the magic wand question. And at the time, I was selling ERP software, and the CEO there, Ashley, great guy, he asked that question on the first meeting we had, like, if you had the magic wand, what would you fix? And when you open this type of open-ended question, and keep in mind, we're selling really complex software, so you have meetings with like 10 different stakeholders, and they all have different needs. You just ask them, hey, what do you guys want to see? What problems do you have that I can help you fix? Instead of me trying to guess what the problems are and then, showcase something you're not really interested. When you do that, and then you actually do a presentation after that, oh my God, the results were amazing. Because all of a sudden, like your finance guy was saying, actually, I need to really improve the forecasting for the company. That's awesome. Let me show you the forecasting tool. Right? The conversation gets so much more specific, and also they trust you a lot better because they know you're not just filling the air with empty words. It's like every word you say hits the nail in the head, and that's actually. Then you always want to spend some time with that salesperson because they know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. I always liken it to going out for a meal. If you sit down at a restaurant and your menu is 50 pages long, you know you're not going to get the best meal. But if you walk into a Michelin star restaurant and they sit down and they go, we've prepared a menu based on all the photos you've put on Instagram and all the reviews you've done online, this is what we think you'd enjoy. You're going to have the best meal of your life. And that is what I think doing a good sales pitch is. It's hearing all the problems, cutting through all the sort of nonsense that's in there, understanding the real problem and going, my solution is made for you because I'm not going to waste your time with everything that I can do. I'm just going to talk about this one thing because that's what you actually care about.
I think it's one thing I also learned was the ability to say no to the person you're trying to sell to. Because they always assume you're a salesperson, you're going to say yes to everything. All my problems have one solution. The solution is the magic hammer you have. But in reality, what you should say is actually the opposite. You know what? I do have a hammer. I'm not sure if you have the right size nails to fix or to hammer on. And when you do that, they're like, oh, so you're not going to try to push anything to me and sell me? No, it might work, might not work. I'm here just to tell you if it's a good match. And then you make the decision yourself. Okay. That makes it like completely swaps, roles, and people just trust you a lot more when you do that. And I think I actually walked away from a couple of deals because I just told them, hey, it's not a good match. This company is a much, much better match for you. And then a couple of months down the line, I literally like a couple of weeks after, hey, Ricardo, I know you're selling this software, you're doing this. Let me introduce you to this guy. He actually has a need, which I think you can actually fulfill. Like, yeah, awesome, cool. That's business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always, used to say I'll be the most honest salesperson you sit down with because I'll tell you if we're not going to work together. And it's the same with some of my clients. I will either fire them or never start in the beginning because if I can tell that we're not going to mesh or I'm not going to be able to provide you what you need, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And so let's just stay connected, have a nice relationship, but never have to go down that specific road. And people are surprised when you reject them, but it's nice. It's not something I've been able to do very much in my life. I've only ever been rejected. I feel very powerful.
Oh, come on. But I think it actually works in dating as well. People don't realize that. It's not one size fits all type of thing. It's like, who would be a good match? And then if they're not a good match, if you just say you're not going to be a good match. Why? Well, because you're 6 foot tall Swedish supermodel. And whilst I do appreciate the extra height to reach, in the kitchen cabinet, I don't think it's really going to work because I really don't like that, rotten fish you guys eat in the tin can. When you say that, I feel like, oh, wow. Obviously, I might think twice about the rotten fish if it's a Swedish supermodel, but...
What's really funny, Ricardo, is I'm married to a Swedish woman.
No way. That is actually... Okay, that does explain why you're going to Sweden then. Okay, interesting.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yes, sorry.
But they don't eat the fish.
Yeah. They do eat the fish, right? You know what I'm talking about? The thin one.
Stroming, yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit... Although I do like the amounts of licorice that everyone in the Nordics eats.
Do you like licorice? I can bring some back for you. I'm not a big fan, but
obsessed with licorice. I think
okay.
So we in Portugal they have this. All the shopping centers have this candy shop, and the licorice box is always full because no one ever buys licorice apart from me, apparently, every time I go there. So I just absolutely love licorice.
Okay, I'm going to come back with some really strong
Thank you.
licorice for you.
Yeah. I like the salt bombs. You know, the salt bombs you put in your mouth, it just boom, explodes.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Really.
I know exactly what I'm getting you.
Thank you. I love them. One time I was in this company, and this my colleague Alex, he's Danish, and every time we went to our home countries, we bring something. I brought some Personalization. He brought some salt bombs. 30 people, no one ate them apart from me. So I was like, full, like the rest of the month, just me eating them, loving it. It was amazing.
They're so strong. I can't have them. Literally every couple of months or year, really. I'll try them because I always want to enjoy it. The salt alone blows my head off. I can't even get to the licorice flavour.
Interesting. They're good in the cold day, though. If you're walking like there's like snowy conditions or something like that, I think they elevated your heart rate, so that's actually quite good.
That's probably why the Swedes like them then.
Probably, yeah. It's just, I need a little boost. There you go. But yeah, sorry, completely off topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of topics, what advice would you give to entrepreneur that they're launching the business, they don't really know how to do sales? What would you tell them to do?
So I would give them my 3 golden rules of sales. The first is to be positive, because whatever you're about to do is going to be tough. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have bad news. And so keeping a positive mindset is hands down the most important thing that you can do. The second thing is being persistent. It's what everyone shies away from. It's why we've talked about rejection, but sales is about persistence. People don't respond to a first message. In fact, I think it's something ridiculous, like 80% of contracts get signed after 5 follow-ups. So if you're going to fight, like no one will fight for your business as hard as you will. And so you've got to be persistent. And then the third thing is really the only way you can do the first 2, which is to be brave. You have got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to be massively. You don't have to do things you don't morally agree with, but you have to push yourself, because only then are you going to grow and achieve something. And whenever I say that, I always say as a challenge, if right now hearing that, there's a voice in your head going, oh yeah, that is that person I've been avoiding calling, or that is that email I've been not sending, just go do it. Go see what happens. And if you get a contract, 10% commission.
But that's the thing. It's about the ability to, I think actors actually get this really, really well, to be judged and to make mistakes in public. Right? Because when you go on stage or before the opening night, you make so much mistakes in the way you interpret that character and the way they should speak, the way they should move. Are they like higher pitch, lower pitch? Should they speak? So many different things that getting that feedback can either destroy you or build you up. But as long as you assume that as a salesperson or as a CEO or as a founder, you're learning what works, what doesn't work, and that person selling is different than who you are in your intimate moments, that's completely fine. Like you put on a shirt, okay, this is my sales shirt. Technically, this is my podcast shirt.
Well, clearly me too. I mean, I got the memo. It's blue podcast shirt.
But that's the thing. You put on this, it's like, okay, podcast mode on, cool. And the mindset completely swaps. But then if I'm wearing, I don't know, a tank top, or is it tank top? The men wear tank top, sleeveless.
You can wear whatever you want.
Thank you.
But yeah,
but is this how you call it? Yeah. Sleeveless top, I guess. Then I probably shouldn't be doing a podcast because that's like
probably not
chill, relaxed mode. Not really the type of podcast we want. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tash, as we're nearing the end of the podcast, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way of doing so?
So best thing that they can do is either find me on LinkedIn. I'm really active there, and it's just Tash Rebuck. I think I'm the only Tash Rebuck on LinkedIn, but you can challenge me on that if I'm wrong. Or you can come and visit my website. I've actually just redone it, so please go and enjoy. It's trsalesconsultancy.co.uk. And you can reach out to me there. Book 30 minutes free. We chat through your business, see if I can help. Like we were saying, only if I'm the right fit. But yeah, anyone who resonated with it, I'd love to hear from you.
Sounds good. Tash, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
The podcast is sponsored by StartupSummit.io, a two-day event bringing together 2,000 founders, investors, and industry leaders from across Europe. As a thank you for being part of the podcast community, we are now offering 50% off all tickets by using the code PODCAST in all capitals on the website. See you in Lisbon.